Securities and Exchange Commission is under pressure to go after Elon Musk from different sources, but is this in their best interest, or is this kind of a catch-22? We're going to talk about that, and also quite a few other news. Some good, some are bad, some are Tesla, some are not. We're going to talk about it all coming up next. Welcome to those of you who are watching me live. Of course, thank you so much for supporting the show. If this is your first time watching this channel and you're watching me on YouTube, there's a subscribe button down there. It's free and you will be up to date on everything that's going on in the world of electric cars. So click on that so you don't miss anything moving forward. But let's talk about the whole drama that was caused by this one little tweet a couple of weeks ago. So obviously Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating Musk for saying that there's funding secured where it looks like it might have not been, or at least there is not enough proof. And it looks like the report coming out, there's a report came out a couple of hours ago that apparently there's a pressure mounting on them from politicians, from other people in the business world to go after Musk. The head of the SEC was appointed by Donald Trump and got a lot of criticism for not going after enough executives, but this is a pretty high profile case, and there's a lot of people who obviously want them to go after Elon Musk, and I hope that they're not going to be caving in under the pressure. Obviously, I hope the outcome comes from those people who investigated it, are familiar with the facts, and make a decision based on that and the law and all of that stuff. Now, their investigation is pretty aggressive compared to what usually happens. Granted, it's a pretty high profile case, but they essentially are already subpoenaed Tesla. Usually they approach the company and say, hey guys, let's talk, let's start conversation, negotiations, and so forth. But they just subpoenaed Tesla. It looks like they might be meeting with them this week, including Elon Musk. And on the other hand, hey, listen, the faster the better, right? Let's just get it out of the way. Obviously, it's kind of a cloud that's hanging over him and the company. But at the same time, isn't this a catch-22 for them? Because essentially their job is to protect the investors, right, from the bad CEOs. But in this case, the CEO is the company that they're investing in. So if you punish him too harshly, it's going to damage the company. It's going to damage the investors. This is a bit of a problem that they might have to deal with, and there will be pressure from both sides. I think there's going to be more pressure to go after him and do something about it, and I hope they don't give in. But I'm going to definitely keep my eye on it. Obviously, this is not the last time I'm reporting it, not the last time I'm reporting on it, so I will keep you guys up to date. All right, let's move on to some other Tesla news and non-Tesla news. Before that, of course, I want to remind you guys that this channel and this video is sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. They were kind enough to give us all the discount code, which you can find in the description of this video, so you can save yourselves a few bucks. All right, let's talk about car fires. I know we love talking about it, but this is not what we want to hear in the community. But Ford is recalling 50,000. And not really cars. This time they're calling the charging cables for the Ford Focus Electric, and apparently they catch on fire. And obviously, since they're connected to your house, now we don't know exactly how many fires happened and how bad they were. If they just burned the neighborhood down, and if it just kind of burned the outlet. But yeah, basically, if you own one of these babies, you better rush to your Ford dealership, and they're just going to exchange your cable for the new one that kind of has a few safeguards built in. So you should be fine, but definitely just don't use it. But obviously, this is not a good thing, right? We're just kind of done with all this Tesla fires and stuff like that. We were just kind of getting back to stories of car fires that happen more often than Tesla fires, which is gas cars. And boom, this recall is 50,000 of them. Didn't even know they made that many, but yeah, apparently that's a thing. All right, let's go back to Tesla, all right? And this is actually a relatively big story. It's a boring story, but it's a relatively big one because, as you know, there was a loan, and there will be quite a few more loans due that Tesla is supposed to pay off. One of them was essentially a credit line that the Deutsche Bank gave to Tesla to maintain inventory. I think there's also lease a budget came from that, which is of course a very important. Model 3 is not being leased yet. Was for $1.1 billion. It was due this month, and they actually extended it. Instead of paying it off, they extended it for 1 more year, which made sense. Obviously, nobody wants to see them spend that kind of money. They're trying to be profitable, or at least not to lose money. They invested a lot this year, billions, a few billions into Model 3 production and ramp up. So this is kind of a makes sense, right? But it's funny because, people were kind of like, oh, they don't have any money. They're going to have to do something about this loan. And like, yeah, we'll extend it for 1 year. Okay, done. Did those people criticizing them for that not see this coming? They didn't know that was possible? Anyway, so that's done. And here's another tweet that Elon posted today. This one is not this was not going to launch an investigation, I can promise you that. But nevertheless, it's kind of announcing another feature. He was asked if they can add a calendar integration to Model 3 for predictive navigation destinations. Please and thank you. And Elon said coming soon. Of course, what the hell does that mean? Coming soon, because this person asked for Model 3. Does it mean it's just going to be Model 3 or Model S and Model X? I am assuming that's probably one of the going to be the easiest feature to add, but I'm a little confused because what is this? Because right now you already have that in there. If you have your calendar synced and you have an event coming up that has an address in there, like a Google event, and I think even like Apple Calendar can be connected, you just tap on it and it will automatically guide you to that navigation. So what does this really mean? By the way, the only hack of how you can type in the destination ahead of getting into your car, typing it on your phone or on your computer, is essentially that. You create an event for today or tomorrow, and you put an address in there, and so all you have to do is just tap on it when you get into the car, and then you can erase the event. But if you have events with an address, that's already in there. So it's a little confusing, but yes, but listen, anything to make this this UI a little bit smarter and a little bit more convenient, I'm obviously all for it, but it's a little confusing. All right, now, I don't know if I mentioned this, Model 3 is finally kind of arrived in Australia, and I'm saying kind of because they're basically putting some demo models in the showrooms there, like they've done here a few months ago. It definitely created a lot of interest. People were standing in line. This is Ashley Hill, who was kind enough to send me a picture of him. I guess he was one of the first 4 groups, he said, to check it out. Obviously a lot of interest, which is great. He had some impressions that he was really impressed, and I guess one of his friends was very tall, and I hear this over and over and over again. People are saying, well, it's a compact car, but people who are like 6'2" are comfortably sitting in there. And yeah, it's yet another a hub, another area where people can get excited and see this car, get on a reservation list and so forth. I believe Ashley said that this was only for reservation holders, so I don't know if you're just a common folk, you couldn't really come in, but it looks like he had a good time, and there are a few other pictures, and definitely yet another place on earth where people are going to love this car ahead of being able to actually buy it. All right, so another news, and this one is kind of a cautious news because can you guess which flag it is, by the way? It's okay, I'll tell you. This is Netherlands flag, and the reason we're going to talk about Netherlands is because this is a third country, I believe. Well, I'm not going to count Alberta as a country, obviously, but a fourth area, I guess, where the incentive is going to be taken away. As a matter of fact, they are cutting out at the end of this year incentive for the luxury cars over a certain amount. And obviously Model S and Model X are going to be affected. Now, the good news is that sales are through the roof right now because people are rushing to get theirs. But this is yet another test for what happens to Tesla and high-priced electric cars when the incentives are taken away. Can they kind of survive on that? So far, the answer is unfortunately no. With Denmark, I believe, and Hong Kong especially, the sales completely crashed. Just awful, especially in Hong Kong. I hope times have changed, and you know, and it's kind of weird, right? In China, they put more tariffs on Model S and Model X, and they were already pretty expensive with 25% of a tariff, and yet people were buying them like it was got $1 billion worth of sales. And yet, in some countries, people completely go like, "Oh my God, no! If we're not going to be given a little bit of money back, we're not going to buy it." So this is going to be another test, and we'll see what happens. I mean, you know, only the time will tell, but it is coming to an end over there. Okay. By the way, let me remind you that I'm going to be going in Amari Car Week. Pebble Beach Automotive Week. Starting tomorrow, I'm going to be checking out all kinds of awesome cars. Rimac is going to be there. Automobili Pininfarina. Volvo is going to unveil their Polestar 1. Byton's going to be there. Mercedes-Benz, Infiniti. I got a press pass to all of this. I don't know if I'm going to live stream. I'll see, but obviously there's going to be a lot of media, and I'm not really sure if it's going to be even worth it if I'll have enough bandwidth, but I'll try to do that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be driving back and forth every day because it's a 3-hour drive for me. And if I end up staying there, I will either live stream or I will post one of the videos. Like, for example, I just did an interview with Roger Atkins. This is the second time he is a guest on the show. If you remember a few months ago, he said, hey, you know, Elon might want to take it easy, maybe even step away from his role and concentrate maybe on SpaceX or whatever. And everyone was like, well, this guy's crazy. Why would he do that? And now all of a sudden, turns out he wasn't that crazy. So I had him back and we talked about what he said back then, what his predictions are now. So it's a pretty interesting interview, and he's just a very interesting kind of guy. So I might post that interview maybe even on Friday. So we'll see. But I'm definitely going to be reporting, and I'll bring a few reports for you guys from the Monterey Car Week. All right, let's get to the one of the new Patreons. Kartik R is one of the new Patreons. Thank you so much for joining me. Of course, my Patreons can watch me live, that they do it right now. And there's also Extra Mile, a segment that I do for those who stick around here on Patreon. So thank you so much. And obviously that's keeping me independent and away from looking for a new job that I just lost. I'm just kind of hoping that this thing is actually going to work out for me. So fingers crossed. Thank you so much for contributing, guys. Let's move on to the comment of the day. And this comment of the day is, of course, about Elon Musk and how harsh I am, and all of us are on him, which I don't believe so. But nevertheless, Angie Croman says, nobody has a right to tell him what to do or how to be. He has his own mind. He is more than capable of making his own decisions regarding his work schedule. You people are out of order. Okay. So this is obviously about the report that we did yesterday on Arianna Huffington, sending him an open letter. She's really into health and all of that stuff. And she was basically saying essentially, like, listen, scientifically, which you should kind of understand, Elon, you know, not getting enough sleep, working long hours, actually making you less productive. And obviously it's taking a toll on you, as you admitted in your New York interview. And it was a very nicely written letter, and with a lot of kind of a scientific stuff supporting it. And I thought it was very much right on. Obviously there are some Elon and Tesla fans that are just not taking it. But guys, listen, I mean, I'm having this conversation with you a lot. I don't know if you're a new viewer or not. And, you know, we have to look at this from a critical thinking point of view. Okay, I understand if he's your idol. I understand if you love Tesla blindly and everything like that. But you have to understand, he might be damaging himself and the brand and what you love without really knowing it. Because the facts are, and by the way, I don't care who Arianna Huffington is, if you agree with her views, if you don't agree with her views. The fact is, what she said makes sense. It's been proven over and over. And it doesn't have to be her telling him this. Bottom line is, if you're working yourself into the ground, if you're underslept and overworked and overstressed and so forth, you're going to have health issues. You're not going to be as productive. You're going to be making decisions that are probably worse if you were literally asleep at that time. So let's forget about who the source is, but let's just use common sense. For the sake of himself, and so for the sake of the Tesla brand, and you guys, the fans, if you're like blind, amazing fans of Elon Musk, you know, you guys are the ones should be rooting for this. You should be rooting for him to get it right. And yes, I understand he's got his own mind. But is he making is he capable of making his own decisions? He has a right to, but are they good? Is he in the right state of mind? I don't think so. I think the right thing to do for him is to worry about himself, his health, and what he can, what's going to happen if something happens to him, if he gets some major health problems. By the way, speaking of Steve Jobs, right? I mean, we don't want the same thing to happen to Elon, and I think this is where it's coming from. And I think you guys should just really step back and kind of jump on this bandwagon of, hey, let's save Elon from himself, and therefore this entire movement that's kind of still on his shoulders. So that's what I say. But you're welcome to disagree with me, as you know that even increases your chances of being featured on this show like this. Maybe I should stop doing that. All right, well, that's pretty much it for this busy day. Tomorrow I will still do the show in the morning. Maybe it will be a little bit quicker than normal. And after that, I'm going to be heading out to Monterey, California to cover this exciting event. Can't wait to bring you guys all of the stuff. So stay for the extra mile if you're a Patreon. Other than that, see you guys next time. And remember to stay charged.